want to talk about diversification here. So, diversification, we always said in the seller world, you really got to be diversified if you really need to get not just in Amazon, because anybody that's an Amazon seller can tell you never know what's going to happen from day to day with Amazon. So a lot of us, I know, jumped on the Walmart bandwagon, and what I can tell you, a lot of us can tell you, while Walmart's been very profitable, it's been a bigger headache than Amazon ever was. But it provided at least a little bit stability and diversity. So, like as sellers, we got to have other options, and in business, make sure you have other streams of income, so it's not just e-com in my case. That's why I actually went over to AIP, was I wanted something, if e-com ever went down, as we knew it, so not just Walmart or Amazon or my eBay or Marketplace or garage sales, but I had a totally different business structure, which is where the influencer program came in. So within the influencer program, you've got to be looking at a couple things. We'll start just with AIP. I actually told somebody outside the school group like 6 weeks ago, they were talking about all they did, they focused on one category in influencer AIP. And I said, what happens if, let's say you're in kitchen, and one day they slash kitchen? Now, it's kind of ironic that actually exact scenario, and I looked back through my messaging where I had it, and I was like, holy cow, that's exactly what happened. And I know a lot of people that are, we all have our niches, but they heavily focus in on one exact specific category or whatever. And that's great, but there's no diversification. What we just saw with Amazon, let's say I 100%, had I been grocery, I would have been absolutely decimated. Because originally I'm looking going, hey, I'm either making 2.5%, 1.5%, plus every bit of those related sales. Well, then overnight, they took grocery and pantry to 0.5%. So that was a huge cut. Plus, I lost nearly every grocery related sale. That entire connection, gone. But luckily, I wasn't just grocery. Like, honestly, I will do anything and everything except for, we just don't do adult products. I'm okay with that. I have no issue with those that do it. If you're willing to do it, I highly recommend it because it's very profitable. We just chose right now with our current storefront, if we start heavily pushing we have a second account that's totally separate, ran a different business. Maybe that one I'll look at adult products. But now you're not relying on one. Like, I saw so many people that have said, like, holy cow, I did all my kitchen stuff is gone, or I did all outdoors, and outdoors went to 0.75%. Now what I'm going to do? Well, now you're trying to play catch up. But if this whole time you had been expanding outside, so whether you're using manual searching for samples, you've got an agent, or you're using Agent Oink, and there's keywords able, you should search it up and change categories in your comfort zone to get other areas, just in case, what just happened. Because there was still categories that stayed at 3%, 2.5%, 2.75%. And there is still a lot of opportunity in those categories. So, diversify within the AIP is the tip. So now, diversifying as an influencer. So, I would highly recommend, as you build up your base, your AIP should still be your number one base priority. Get everything filmed in your house. I actually was talking to somebody the other day. They live in a boat in Russia, and they're doing the influencer program. I actually didn't know at the time that she was in Russia or living on a boat. Didn't know that, but it's been fun talking with her. Film everything in your house. At bare minimum, you should get 500 videos. And I still stand behind that theory with the influencer program, even with the related sales, even with the commission drops. I still say that route. And if you've got a pretty decent sized house or a lot of stuff like our house of 8 has, I honestly, if you really are looking, you can get 1,000 items. Now that may mean at times you're filming the hinges on your cabinets, you're filming the doorknobs, you're filming your toilet paper, you're filming the links on your garage door opener. I mean, there's so many things when you really start breaking it down on them. So I still say, before you go expanding anywhere else, get that base going. Now there is a new addition to this that I would say, and that's the YouTube side of stuff for Amazon off-site. I would tell you, get your YouTube account going sooner than later. If you're going to use cha-ching, which I have not been, I'm not listening to my own advice, I didn't get it going yet, I'm not going to hide around the bush like I've been doing it. I know there's been some hiccups in there. I've talked with several people, they keep asking me the hiccups. Again, I have not done it. I paid for the annual program because I know I need to, and I know I need to get on it. But you can only upload X amount of videos per day to YouTube before YouTube has a problem with it. So if you wait till you have, like me, over 2,000 videos, I may never catch up to getting all my videos on YouTube unless I go like a week or two of uploading nothing, or a month, and it'll finally catch up. So that is the one exception. I would say get your YouTube started. And as I told someone the other day, there are some glitches with the cha-ching, and that's okay. They were like, they didn't like how the title was showing. And the advice I got when I first started YouTube for e-com, and I didn't do much with it, I never got my first video up because I never thought it was good enough. And finally, that one person said to me, goes, Randy, any video up is better than no video, which is the same thing we've said with the Influencer Pro AIP. Any video you make, even an unboxing video, is better than no video. So get that up there. Same thing with the YouTube. It is better to get your videos uploaded, maybe not with the correct title, maybe not the right hashtags, but it's something. It is better than nothing. And the great thing is YouTube doesn't charge us for their, for using YouTube. And the longer it's up and running, you're going to figure out the quirks of it. You're going to figure out, hey, I need to verify my identity so I can actually have my links be clickable. So I do recommend that. Don't stall on that one. But I see a lot of people now wanting to be like, oh, what's Walmart got because of the rate drop? What's Target doing? What's all these other affiliates doing? Lowe's and everything. And there is a lot of options out there to do. But don't get stuck in the shiny object syndrome when you haven't completed the base, and the base is AIP. You can be educating yourself and starting to learn how these other programs work. Also, if nothing else, sign up for them. If you look through their requirements first, because if you get rejected, some may not be as easy to let you in when you really have, say, your YouTube going and you're following. So if you want to look at that. But that's diversifying totally different. But we don't want to just diversify, say, to YouTube and still just pull into Amazon. So that would be the goal down the road. How do you get the YouTube going? And in my case, I do a lot of how-to videos and fixes and parts. Lowe's has an affiliate program. And Nate used to always tell us, and still does in the e-com world, do what others aren't willing to do. If there's an extra barrier, there's not going to be as much competition. It's going to be more profitable. So in the e-com world, if it was glass and people were scared to sell glass or liquid because of the extra prep work, they'd skip it. So in my case, everyone's saying Walmart. I see every day posting Walmart. People used to talk about Target. Now we don't know what's going on with Target. But like Lowe's, nobody's talking about Lowe's. They have a program. pretty much every site has some sort of program. It's just to what profitability. So like me personally, down the road, my goal would actually be, if I was going to do my YouTube videos, which I will, I can always go back through and update them later. I can fix that title later if let's say something happens in the e-com selling world, and now that frees up 3 days of my week. Well, now I can go back through, I can edit that. I can be part of the lows and add the links to the lows to make sure, I'm drawing in a different, I'm getting money from somewhere other. I'm not relying on Amazon is the key thing. So think big picture with the diversification, from the small part, you're diversifying into different categories, different products. Diversify where you're getting the products. I talk a lot about, obviously I get a lot from Lan, my agent. She is currently having huge problems right now because Facebook is constantly shutting down her profiles. And I forget the other day, it was something like they've either had 14 or 21 profiles in the past 6 months shut down because Amazon says they violated a policy. And it's probably mainly because Amazon thinks they're spamming with all the links they're sending out in the groups. So she's even looking at it. She's got to diversify how she's currently doing it. She's actually been talking the past 2 days, looking at different softwares. Heck, Nate did with Facebook also. He had some problems there. So it's like, that's why we jumped over to school in the e-com world, and now in the AIP world. That's how we got on board with school. So yeah, look through it all. Get exploring more. Diversify also. How are you selling your products? We used to focus on eBay. I now rely more on Marketplace. But as I found out the other day, a friend of mine reminded me, and I've heard of this, especially if you're selling on Facebook Marketplace, you really have to be extremely careful selling medical products. Medical products will get flagged because Amazon has some policies on that. Amazon has policies, for instance, on a lot of gun products. So if I accidentally, the other day, I got a gun holster from a company. If I didn't remember or look through the policy and I list it, it could violate the policy and they could shut down my Marketplace account. And now I'm going to have to figure out a different way around of starting a new account, getting history up where people trust me, or using another, family member's account. So that's another thing. Look at the diversify, if you're selling your products, how is your game plan to differently sell them should something go down? Marketplace, garage sales. What's not, I think, is the live app. Obviously, eBay, if I didn't already say it. Might laugh at this if you've been around long enough. Craigslist still exists. I literally have a friend that whenever I say, hey, I'm looking for this, their first response is always, have you gone to Craigslist yet? And I'm like, what are you talking about, dude? That's where you get scammed. He goes, I buy everything off Craigslist. Didn't know it was still fully active, but it is. Again, diversify all these and be thinking, because everything's going to change. 20 years ago, people laughed at me when I said, we're going to buy everything online. It's going to be shipped to our house. And they said I was crazy. And now look at how the world's gone. People still say I'm crazy that I say we're going to start seeing the Walmarts, the Myers, the Targets, the big box warehouses closing down, because it's all going to go to online sales and your local dollar store or convenience gas station. And it's going to be the way of the world 5-10 years down the road. So get out there, think about diversifying, post your ideas below or thoughts on diversifying, what you think it means, what it could mean, what your ideas, what you've done to diversify out there. So